Gonna be real with you guys. I sometimes wonder how I used to do these multiple times a week, especially staying up till 4 a.m. and immediately afterwards on a Tuesday, working a full shift starting at 9. There are days like this, that I find it the most difficult to believe that this actually happened, because today is the go home show. It is the final Smackdown before the Royal Rumble, and I gotta be honest guys, Tom's a bit tired. But we're going to do our best because ultimately the gauntlet is there. The challenge has been thrown down. It is up to Smackdown to pique my interest, to wake me up inside, save me, and so on, and get me invested in their show, ready for a Royal Rumble in which I'm definitely going to be up for a very, very, very late night. Very late night indeed. Smackdown is just starting. I am, as usual, slightly behind. But we are keeping up, we are catching up, and we are having ourselves a good old-fashioned watch party. Welcome everyone to the show. I am Tom Colohue. I'm going to be watching Smackdown tonight. You are going to be watching it with me, and hopefully jumping in, chatting, talking weird stuff, because that's what we do, and just having a great old time. Welcome to the show. Moxie's already here just shouting my name at me. Sean says, according to the Observer, Io, Dakota, Roderick and LA Knight are backstage at SmackDown and Fightful has confirmed it. Brandon is here saying hello mate indeed. Welcome everyone. We are watching ourselves a SmackDown in which, let's just say, nothing new is likely to happen. We have another confrontation between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, much like last week's confrontation and the confrontation the week before. We have Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin taking on Big E and Kofi Kingston of the New Day, so another Raw drop over. What we do have that might actually be considered something interesting is a match between Naomi and Sonya Deville. But will it happen? Will it actually happen? That's the problem that we've got. Can we be convinced? So far, not really. This storyline's been completely dead in the water, dead on arrival. It's been going nowhere. Can they change our mind? Can they do it? Probably not, but let's see. Let's give them a chance and see if they can actually make us think it's worth tuning in. We are currently live as usual, or at least has become usual, on both Twitch and on YouTube. I do have to say at the beginning of this, much as I did at the earlier video, a huge thank you to everyone who has been tuning in recently on YouTube this month. So literally since the start of January on YouTube, we have gained 58 new subscribers, a new record for the month, particularly if we can get at least one more, because 58 is a record equaling amount. It also means that at most we are 15% away from monetization. 150 followers more, well, subscribers I should say, and just about 400 hours in the watch time. So we're getting closer all the time to reaching that pinnacle that we are looking for. Monetization is within our reach. So I do want to say a massive thank you to everyone. Oh, hi Ed. How you doing, mate? Charlotte Flair is opening SmackDown, suggests they have something pretty good lined up for the draw segment. I would imagine that's going to end up being Sonya Deville and Naomi, but it would also make sense for it to be Kofi Kingston, to be fair. Particularly if they have the return of the King, which I don't think is happening, but we are where we are. Shinsuke Nakamura has of course been cleared. His hand, he had his scan, he showed off his scan on Twitter because he got gazumped essentially. That was supposed to be a surprise, but wrestling news. I think that's the first time I've seen Charlotte do two things. One, struggle in heels. She actually had a bit of a moment there where she wasn't entirely sure of herself. And secondly, look at the camera in the way that she did. Can I just say, I enjoyed when she looked at the camera in the way that she did. Very confident. It's very powerful. The field of wrestlers in the Women's Rumble so far is strong. We know that. But of course there are plenty more rumours as well. Rumours of Sasha Banks, rumours of Bayley, rumours of course of Ronda Rousey, and plenty more. I still remember a time a few years ago, I believe it was 2020. Yes, it was 2020, in which they announced, I believe, 28 of the women, and then in the end, only 24 of them actually showed up because they had to make some changes last minute. Charlotte Flair is having to work against the crowd there. A lot of people seemed very happy to support Charlotte there until she reminded them that she's the bad guy. Sean says, just got sent a picture that says Ruby Soho isn't happy with AEW. From what I read, she was brought in to put over Britt and Jade, and now they have nothing for her. Well, to be fair, they also had nothing for her in WWE, so we'll see how it goes. I think when it comes to the women's division in AEW, a lot of work still needs doing. But yeah, I haven't personally heard anything more about that. Simon is saying, according to Wrestling News Source, Paige is coming back. I have read that. I have never known that particular website to give us news that actually pays off. We'll see how that goes. Paige, of course, would be very, very surprised if she came back. But she has told the WWE, as I've said already, she's told them she wants to come back and be a wrestler. It's up to the WWE to make that happen now. We'll see how it goes. I personally suspect she may be off to a different company sooner rather than later. Charlotte Flair is going to be a very key component of this year's Royal Rumble. Bit of a flub there. But she is going to be the Brock Lesnar to somebody's Drew McIntyre. Charlotte still gets notes, but she doesn't get the full script that she used to. She's trusted a lot more. It used to be that every word was scripted for Charlotte, so she could hit all the different markers. Nowadays they say to her, go out there, say you're awesome. And here is the end result. Brandon says, are you going to be getting 2K22, Tom? I think I am, Brandon. I think I've been talked into it by someone in this channel. There is an option for a co-op GM mode. Meaning that, for example, I could manage Raw and someone else could manage SmackDown. I think that would be a fun stream. I think that could be a fun stream. So we'll look into that. So yes, I suspect we are going to have ourselves a 2K22. Hello, Shayna. Moxie, I agree. I liked Shayna's theme. It was a banger. Why has it changed? Why is Shayna here? What's about to happen? I'm invested. The fact that Shayna Baszler is here. Okay, WWE, you've got my attention. Now what are you going to do with it? Because this should be a big deal. But it's not. Queen versus Queen of Spades. This should feel like a massive showdown. But it's not. Shayna Baszler's just sort of there. These two have Royal Rumble history. Shayna Baszler was supposed to win in 2020. Charlotte said nah. Well, WWE said nah. Brandon says they're changing everyone's themes recently to generic stuff. You're not wrong. There is some bad stuff coming out. I'm going to miss Ricochet's theme. Nobody's going to stand out at the rate this is going. Good support from the crowd there for Shayna. Charlotte's the one who's earned it for her. I would be down for this match at WrestleMania. Lahawkman Welcome says they actually scrapped Sonya's entrance theme. It's such a bad theme song. It is now. It was a banger. Oh, hello, Aaliyah. I remain confident that Aaliyah will be the one to eliminate Charlotte. Oh, no. No, that's not merch that you want. That merch is terrible. Brandon says, all the women putting down their claims for the Rumble. Essentially, yes. Time-honoured tradition. Just show off, oh, here are a lot of competitors. It makes Shayna's appearance there look even less important. I always worry with Aaliyah. Why can she never buy completed pants? Like, is she buying it in patch? Just like, she hasn't got enough wool to finish off her trousers? She always just leaves a gap. It's very confusing. Simon is saying there is a mystery woman, this is again according to Wrestling News source, hidden away, praying it's Sasha, if the story is true. I like that you put that in brackets because I feel that's the important thing. Moxie says Aaliyah sounds like she has a stuffy nose. Possibly. She's very nasal. The crowd are getting restless here. This definitely feels like it's going to end with a load of people just being thrown over the top rope. Just to remind everyone how Royal Rumble works. The crowd aren't booing Natalya, they're just booing. Sean says, I hope they don't touch Bianca, Asuka, Kevin Owens, Miz and Randy's themes. They're definitely not touching Randy or Miz, as KJ says. I don't think they touch Kevin Owens at this point, but a lot of them are a bit up for grabs. If they change Asuka's theme, that's going to be it. KJ's asking about Xia Li. Brandon is saying about Shotzi. Marvel says, what would happen if Mickey actually wins tomorrow? Carnage, Marvel fan. Carnage. Megan says, this started well, now it's just meh. Have we gone back to Raw? Basically, yeah. Raw and SmackDown have really swapped, haven't they? Yeah. I'm not quite there yet on mine, but I can promise you guys, Sasha Banks isn't being hidden. It's nice for Shotzi to actually get herself a promo. It's rare nowadays. I like that she's wearing a daddy chain. I mean, what? Oh, wrong word. I'm confused by that, I feel. I never got the daddy thing. Wait for it. I know there's a pop coming. I'll need to catch up a little bit after the break, I think. Charlotte really made a big point of making that one happen. So, to be clear, so everyone is aware, Sasha Banks was never going to miss the Royal Rumble. It wasn't going to happen. The time frame given to Dave Meltzer was not accurate. She's another one who's like missing half of her clothes. Like, what is going on? Going to the Aaliyah school, clearly. But yes, Sasha Banks was never really in doubt. The fitness test was just to make sure she could go the distance. She could. I reported here immediately after her injury. It wasn't a big deal. They weren't treating it as a big deal. She was expected to be in the Royal Rumble. Here we are. Dave Meltzer's timing was never accurate. Sean says, possible Alexa is still in the Rumble. Possible, yes. Less likely now. They do have enough people to fill it. They don't really worry too much. Malfan says, did you hear Jeff turn down a Hall of Fame place? Yes, I did. The main reason for that is because WWE have been dicks to him. Still yet to see any evidence at all of wrongdoing on Jeff Hardy's part. Yet he got fired. Brandon says, Sasha always looks so good no matter what she wears. She's a very glamorous woman, I tell you that. Having seen her in person, literally just waiting for a lift, she has serious presence. Hey Rocky, how you doing? Sorry I didn't say hi earlier on during the show. We were hosting a preview show, so we were focused on that. But I did spot you. Welcome back to the show, mate. Great to see you. Megan says it's another one they should have left for the Rumble itself. Usually suggests that they have something bigger coming. As I've said previously, the WWE did believe, when they announced Mickie James, that they had a bigger surprise in the pocket. Sasha Banks may have been that bigger surprise, but now that she's there, they have something even bigger coming. I suspect Ronda Rousey may have signed. Moxie says, Shayna is killing Shotzi. Yeah, Shayna's started to protect herself a lot more than she used to, which is good. Rocky says, I hope X-Pac is in the Rumble. It would be a nice little pop. I don't think we're going anywhere big with it, but it'd be a nice pop for X-Pac. He's done what he could. Sean says, did you see that Brian Kendrick asked for his release? I did. I didn't really factor it in all that much because it's not that big. You know? It's not that big. KJ says, I called it. They exaggerated the injury. You were one of many who did indeed say that. Marvel fan says, Sasha even tweeted that she was fine after her injury. Clearly a minor injury. I wouldn't even call it an injury, to be completely honest with you. She played up to the whole thing from the off. Okay, so a lot of women just got thrown over the top rope. Sasha stands tall. Sasha is not winning the Rumble. Simon is saying, Fightful just reported Sasha to be at the Rumble. Breaking news story. You think? She's right there. In what way is that breaking news? She's right there. She's on my screen. I don't understand. Rocky thinks Moose is going to be the surprise. I don't think that's that big a surprise. I think a lot of people wouldn't know who he was. Marvel fan says the biggest surprise could be Bliss. That would not be a surprise either. Moxie agrees, thinks Ronda has signed. Lockman is saying from the WrestlingNews.co, a spoiler we spoke about earlier, reported that Paige is cleared and is reportedly a surprise women's Rumble. Reportedly a surprise for the Women's Rumble. We'll see how that plays out. I know and have reported here several times. Paige told them she wants to wrestle, and if they're not going to use her, she will go elsewhere. Brandon says, I think they have a lot of surprises in store for the Rumble. I think a lot of them will be given away tonight for free. And Bailey says, what will it take to elevate Shayna as champion, or is Vince not buying into her anymore? Vince never really bought into her at all. Triple H did. Shawn Michaels did. Vince never really did. Vince bought into Ridge Holland. Rocky says, I think Drew's injury is kayfabe. It isn't, but it's debatable as to whether or not you class it as an injury. He's just taking some time off to rest, basically. Rocky says, Graves is cleared. That would be a fun little appearance, I'll tell you that. Brandon says, Ridge has now truly become Sheamus's protege. I think he was from the off, to be honest. Oh, God. Everyone has to wear these nose guards now. Well, it's nice to see Ridge back. Sean says, I believe I saw a report by Ringside News that Kurt Angle is in St. Louis. You definitely saw a report from Wrestling Inc. that Kurt Angle is in St. Louis. Ringside News basically just re-aggregate everything as we know. Hey Chelsea, how you doing, man? Hope everyone's looking forward to the Rumble. KJ says the Fightful report was posted at 8 exactly, so right at the start of the show. Right, okay. Thank you. With all the rumours as to who will show up, do they even have space for Paige? Apparently. I've just seen a sign that says Roman Let's Wrestle Naked, and while I applaud the effort there, maybe don't be that thirsty on main. Megan says the match order tomorrow will give us our definitive answer for me. If the Women's Rumble is the second one, Ronda's back. Yeah, if the Women's Royal Rumble main events, Ronda's definitely back and probably winning. Megan also says, how long until the guards are on WWE Shop? I'm disappointed they're not already there, to be honest. Moxley's saying one day we will see Ronda versus Shayna. We will. Don't think that day is going to be anytime soon, unfortunately. KJ, to be clear, there is no siding with here. I was just confused as to the timing. As you've clarified it, fair enough. Fightful do good work. They also paywall a lot of things that I report, but they do good work. They get a lot that I don't, let's be fair. KJ says 9 spots were open, now it's 8 with Banks, and it was about 7 or 8 rumoured names and spotted names. I won't say who. Well, they could always drop a few people out, such as, for example, Natalia, Aaliyah, and the like. Chelsea says, Tom, please can you say before you say a Rumble spoiler, as I don't want to know any predictions. Fair enough. I'm just, at this point, I'm not stating any spoilers. I am sharing news that people are sharing here. I am not sharing any spoilers. I am saying my predictions. I predict that we're going to see Bayley. I don't necessarily think we will, but I'd like to see it. But I'll definitely try and make that clear. I appreciate that. I try not to, KJ, but Chelsea's right to say that. It's absolutely fair. Freaks of Wrestling Podcast says, they said on SmackDown last week that Rollins vs. Reigns was the main event of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Quite often, in the build-up to big shows, a lot of people will call themselves the main event in the effort to make that true. Becky Lynch has a big thing for that. A big thing for that. Bayley says, other than Ronda, what is a big enough surprise? Chris Cyborg, Amanda Nunes? Bayley. Paige would definitely count as a big enough surprise as well, I feel. Marvel fan says, is it weird that I do not want to see Ronda? No, that's called an opinion, mate. It's called an opinion, and you're perfectly entitled to it. Different people have different thoughts. I believe that the WWE might be panicking a little bit, and that's why we've got rumours of Ronda Rousey's return, but I'm not going to be upset by it. Not going to be upset by it at all. I have no issue with that. Chelsea says, do you think we can see The Rock? No. They would have given us a lot more to go on by now, I feel. Justin Stevens, welcome to the show, says, is betting odds a spoiler? Sometimes, yes. I'm happy to talk about betting odds, but please be aware that the betting favourite is usually the winner when it comes to Royal Rumble. Sean says, did everyone see what Miz said about MJF? I did. It was very respectful. MJF came back with a very out-of-character sort of positive response. And I think it's just two people really recognising the journey that each other have been on and showing a lot of respect for it. Oh, thank you, Freaks of Wrestling. So the announcer said it on SmackDown last week. Interesting. Thank you for that. Sometimes I can't catch it because I'm talking while doing this, so I don't keep au fait with everything. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. KJ says, Paige, Ronda, Bayley are all very big surprises, and even Trish. I would not call Trish a surprise. I really wouldn't. I think she's a gimme, as it were, and I think she has been the entire time. Just says, what time in the UK do you think the Rumble will start? That is a good question that I haven't actually checked yet. I was going to check that and never got round to it because I need to know what time to be back from my date tomorrow. So, let's do that. What time? Nope, that's not right. What time is the Royal Rumble? Starts at 1 a.m, so the pre-show starts at midnight. Thank you, Megan. You've got in there just before I did. So we will start the show here on YouTube and on Twitch at midnight, the start of the pre-show. And we'll go through right until the end, and probably a little bit over. At least they're using Cesaro now. I don't think this is the way to do it, but at least they're doing it. Brandon says, MJF to show up with Punk's theme would be the best and cruelest troll at the same time for the Rumble. Yeah, a lot of people say that, but they would lose their shit if it happened. KJ says, I don't mind Ronda, but like I said, based off the Day 1 card, they're going all out this year. It's all about making big matches and money matches, and it is. It is. Bianca versus Becky doesn't quite fit with what I believe that they were already going for. Ronda makes more sense. Bayley naturally makes sense, but it seems unlikely at this point. Jill says, what did The Miz say to MJF? Didn't say it to MJF, said it about MJF, and essentially it was a real recognizes real moment. It was just a nice bit of respect, you know? Got to give props to both men there, just respecting each other. MJF not known for showing respect to people. The Miz apparently is the exception. KJ says, as regards to betting averages, they got Brock the full time. Yeah, Brock has basically always been considered the favourite for the men's Royal Rumble. Justin says, to me, this just confirms Sasha will not win. If she was going to win, it would have been a surprise. You say that, but you could also have said that about Edge last year. A lot of people said that exact thing about Edge. Tommy says, hi, does The Rock return tonight or tomorrow? No and no. Marvel fan asks, why is the Rumble Saturday? Well, I'd imagine it's largely so that Tom Colohue can have a lie-in. I'm really excited for a Saturday pay-per-view, not going to lie. Very excited. Chelsea says, how would you react if it's number 30 in the Rumble and Jesse and Festus walk out to biscuits and gravy? I would be very disappointed. Very disappointed. Justin Stevens says, I love how it's 60 spots in both Rumbles, but going to all these sites, it's like 100 different people in town for the Rumble match. Yep. A lot of people will be in town just for the sake of being in town. I'd imagine that's the case with, for example, Kurt Angle. I don't suspect he's going to be wrestling. Megan says, Ricochet's new theme is awful. Shayna's new theme is awful. And you know what? You're right. It is awful. My biggest concern is that they're going to change Nakamura's theme. That'd disappoint me. But it's a WWE. We just can't guarantee it. Bailey says, when you were watching it, how late did WrestleMania 35 end in the UK? I believe it was about 6:30 in the morning. It was something like that, about 6:30 in the morning. Basically, it sucked, and I'd rather it didn't happen. We have a 2-night WrestleMania this year, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop any time differently. They are making those hours longer and longer. It would not surprise me to have a two-night show, which is 5 hours each show, and we end up having a 12-hour WrestleMania. It is WWE after all. Chad believes David Arquette is going to be in the Rumble tomorrow. I don't see it, but I also don't not see it. It's WWE. Stranger things have happened, and we do have Johnny Knoxville involved. Justin says Nakamura and Boogs got announced on Twitter. Means it's very unlikely we'll see them tonight, because I'd imagine they would just announce themselves. Or it may be because they were just holding out to see if Nakamura was cleared. After all, we have spoken about the fitness tests that were going to be happening this week. Nakamura, as we know, was checked and cleared. Sasha Banks, as we now know, was checked and cleared. Bayley had a fitness test. Jermaine is celebrating the return of Sasha. Simon is celebrating the return of Sasha. Popular woman, Sasha. Chelsea's asking, who's your personal favourite to win? If Ronda Rousey is in it, and as the guy who initially reported that, I may have inside track on that, I can't see her being in the Rumble and not winning. That said, if it was up to me, I'd be going Bayley any day of the week. Any day of the week. Marvel fan says Taker is in town, but to support Michelle McCool? Maybe. I don't see him being in the Royal Rumble, I'll tell you that. Undertaker has got to stop eventually. Sean says, how bad would it be if WWE changed Sasha's theme? It would suck. Hopefully they don't have to do that. KJ is giving us news about the matches before the show started. EO apparently took on Dakota Kai, but he's not sure who won. I think the fans won in that one, to be honest. Brandon says, do you reckon we will see Seth standing tall over Roman tonight leading into the Rumble? We've never really seen anyone stand tall over Roman since he initially started the Tribal Chief run. Brock's come the closest. I'm going to go with no. After all, the idea that whoever stands tall is guaranteed to lose, it's not accurate. It's about 50-50 in that regard. Marvel fan says Nakamura just got cleared. He did indeed. His hand is fine. Jermaine says WWE could have given Shayna a cool metal music as a theme, something from Iron Maiden or also Metallica or Megadeth. Anything's better than the crap she came out to. Yeah, usually you get the good music if they give a fuck about you. Yeah. Justin says 25 out of 30 men's names are announced. I don't believe Cesaro is in it. Yeah, Cesaro is not in a good place right now. He's at best a serious afterthought. Chelsea says, what about for the men's rumble? I'm still going AJ. Personally, I'm going AJ. It's baffling to see him there. Sean says, was Carmella ever injured? Don't know. Genuinely not sure. It's a difficult one to track. Justin believes that we're going to see on the kickoff show the Usos versus the Viking Raiders. That would make sense. They've got a pseudo storyline going. They've just not really started it yet. Megan says, I went back through my Twitter. Yes, I do that. And WrestleMania 35 finished just after 5:30 a.m. here. So not quite 6:30 as I thought it was, but still pretty damn bad. KJ says, Bailey posted a little jumping exercise on her Instagram story, and I really can't tell if she's ready. I don't know. If you watched the show earlier, our preview show with Nick Barbati of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, he pitched a concept that would very much allow even a not cleared Bailey to win the Royal Rumble. If they want to do it, they can do it. That's all I'll say. KJ also says they don't value Shayna that high to license a song for her. They don't. It really is that simple. They just don't. Marvel fan says, is a title versus title Brock versus Roman at Mania an accurate rumour? Firstly, Marvel fan, what's your source on that? Because they're wrong. Brandon says, maybe Goldberg in the Rumble? No plans for Goldberg in the Rumble. It would mean that his final match in the company is a Royal Rumble. They don't want to do that. And Jermaine says, I could see Sasha eliminating Charlotte Flair to set up a feud between her and Charlotte for WrestleMania and eliminating Bianca. Ronda and Sasha will be the last two, with Ronda winning. Certainly a possibility, but whoever eliminates Charlotte Flair does not automatically be set up as her WrestleMania opponent. Don't forget, we do have Elimination Chambers coming, and they will determine the challenges. Megan says, I would rather see Shane than Goldberg. I think we're gonna. For those who aren't aware, a couple of weeks ago during one of these shows, I realised we're building towards Shane McMahon versus Austin Theory at WrestleMania, aren't we? I think that's where we're headed. Since then, starting to hear the name Shane McMahon a lot. I posted on Twitter, and then someone else, I was going to say a fellow wrestling journalist, but let's instead say someone who's definitely trying to compete with me, said the same. They got more engagement than me. I'd imagine they're very proud of that. But suddenly I'm hearing Shane's name a lot more than I'm personally comfortable with. Shane might be a coming. Marvel fan says, to be fair with Ringside News, they get it wrong a lot. They do. They absolutely do. KJ says, speaking more about theme songs, they aren't going to change Banks, Randy, Miz, or any of the guys without their consent. They don't care for Ricochet, Shane, or Viking Raiders that much, so they'll change what they want with them. Yeah, pretty much. They can keep the music. To be clear, they can keep the previous music. They just got to buy the license again. They've chosen not to. Chelsea says, time to summon Shane. Is it? Is it though? Don't forget, if you're currently watching on Twitch, as Brandon has done there, we do have Shane McMahon emotes. And once we are monetized on YouTube, we'll be getting Shane McMahon emotes. You know it. You absolutely know it. We got to get them emotes. Everybody wants that jazz. And if you are watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up. Every view helps. Every viewer helps. Every like helps. And of course, every subscriber helps. We have gained 58 new subscribers in the past roughly 30 days, which is pretty damn good. We are aiming our sights firmly on increasing that number by watching the Royal Rumble. What that does mean is, I think it's a very realistic target to reach 1,000 by WrestleMania. So I'm aiming to reach 1,000 by WrestleMania and potentially try and get ourselves monetized by then. That's the mission. That's the plan. That's what I'm going for. Justin says, would fans cheer Ronda if she eliminated Sasha? No. Ronda Rousey is not going to get cheered. It's just, that's not going to happen. She is going to get booed out of the building. But if she actually leaves the building, they're going to be very upset. Nobody's going to get cheered for eliminating Sasha, just to be clear on that. Woody Swain, welcome, says, Iron Man and Woman predictions, Tom. Well, usually in the women's matches, it's more easy to predict because they need that one ring general to base everything around. They're just more focused on that. Honestly, I feel Charlotte will be the Iron Woman. I think Charlotte Flair is going to do a Brock Lesnar. And I'd be very happy with that. As regards to men, it's a little harder to predict. I'm going to go with Kevin Owens, personally. I think Owens is in a very good position to be that guy. And you don't necessarily need the ring general for the men's, or at least the WWE don't believe you need the same sort of ring general. But give it time and I'm sure we'll get there. Kevin Owens for me would be a very good Iron Man for it. Interesting new move from Cesaro. It feels oddly comfortable to watch Cesaro and Sheamus wrestling again. Oddly comfortable. I feel like I've seen it basically my entire life at this point. Marvel fan says, are you excited for 2K22? A little bit, more than I expected to be. Now that I've heard about the co-op GM mode option, I'm quite excited. But I am putting together the plans for Colohue Gaming. That, of course, is going to be a separate YouTube channel that's on the way in the future. There will definitely be Football Manager one day a week, a live stream there. I'm certainly going to be looking at a one day a week co-op GM mode stream. That could be a lot of fun. And I think add one more stream. So do maybe 3 streams a week, depending. But it may be a case of, oh, they're supposed to have... Okay, Cesaro is pretending he's broken his nose. Everyone's going to be wearing masks. That's what the entire feud's based on people holding their nose. So I'll likely be adding one more game, maybe around to Last of Us Part 2 finally. But we'll see if I can actually manage 3 streams a week. We'll see how it goes. Bailey says, what are the plans for tomorrow's watch party? The party will start at 12 midnight in the UK, which is 7 p.m. Eastern time over in the US. Essentially, the second the pre-show starts, we will start right here, both on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm going to be spending most of the day trying to channel people and viewers to the YouTube channel so that we can all watch together and grow it from there. I'll be trying to get views, I'll be trying to get viewers, I'll be trying to get subscribers. We will be watching the entire Royal Rumble, and I suspect, because it's on a Saturday rather than a Sunday, I can stay up a little bit later and just do a bit of a breakdown and a review afterwards. The actual name of the show will change over the course of the night. I might in fact do a separate review show that starts immediately afterwards, but we'll see how it plays out. Jermaine says, I see Lesnar losing the title tomorrow night because he's being advertised for the Elimination Chamber match in Saudi Arabia. Haven't seen that, Jermaine. Haven't seen that personally, so we'll wait and see. Brandon says, realistically, Tom, how many AEW people do you see being in the Rumble? Realistically, at most I see one. Seth Rollins is a Joker. At most I see one, and that one would be Chris Jericho. That is full on the Joker that Seth Rollins is rocking. They're really pushing this face to face. I'm not that excited by it. Justin is suggesting heel Ronda versus heel Becky. There would no longer be a heel Becky if Ronda Rousey was back. The fans would very clearly side with Becky Lynch. KJ says Shane on Mania's card shouldn't be surprising. He's been on most Mania since coming back at I think 31. It was 32. Against Taker. Then he faced Miz, AJ, Braun. He's been involved in a lot of different WrestleManias. It wouldn't be that big a surprise to me. Jermaine says, if we're hearing Shane McMahon's name a lot, could it be for the setup of Shane McMahon versus Austin Theory? It absolutely could. And to be clear, I would be asking for the support of you guys and the help of you guys. If it ends up being Austin Theory versus Shane McMahon, I've already seen people out there saying that they've reported it. I was definitely the first one mentioning this. It's bad enough that it was that the Ronda Rousey news made the headlines 4 days after I'd already said exactly what the report stated. It's infuriating seeing people profit, literally profit, from telling people not to listen to me when they are reporting the same news I do later, making money from it. It's upsetting. KJ's asking if Banks eliminates Flair. No idea. Someone's going to eliminate Charlotte. I don't think it'll be Banks. Sasha Banks doesn't need it. I think it'll be Aaliyah, personally. Justin says, I wonder if Sasha will enter later in the Rumble now that she's coming off injury. Possibly. That would make a lot of sense. Marvel fan is asking, is Beth back full-time? Full-time, no, but she's back to wrestling. Brandon is suggesting they should have Cesaro and Sheamus get back together. I would have no issue with this. No issue whatsoever. KJ says, am I the only one that wants a faction in Sheamus, Ridge and Cesaro? Apparently not. Sounds like Brandon would be very interested in that as well. The day may come. The day may come. Someone 7 says, do you think Drew will be in the Rumble? I do not. I think he'll be back in plenty of time for WrestleMania, but the Rumble, they can let him sit this one out. Also, welcome, Someone 7. How you doing? Brandon says, when are we going to see Badass Becky again, like in her feud against Ronda? Well, I'd imagine that'll be when she's in her feud again with Ronda. KJ said, at the end of the day, Shane is the son of Vince. Of course his dad will put him on the card, but have him lose. Yeah, he wants to lose. To be clear, he wants to lose. Shane McMahon does not want to be winning matches at WrestleMania. He never has. Bailey says, Becky appeared on Broken Skull sessions with Steve Austin, which dropped today. You could tell she still isn't happy with Charlotte over how the belts changed hands. Called her an arsehole. Called her an arsehole. Thank you, Chelsea. I like that. Marvel fan says, I wonder if Ronda will have any ring rust. I found that unlikely, but not impossible. Not impossible. The Royal Rumble is a good way to get back into it, to be fair. Sam says, Tom, did you know she passed her fitness test? Maybe. Maybe. Do you remember earlier when I was saying this is a prediction show, not a spoiler show? It may have been because we were recording it live for PW Torch and I'm not able to say such things. Also, I don't want to be spoiling everything. I don't. I gave you guys all the information, all the news way ahead of time for Sasha, and I left you all to it. Left you all to it. Megan says, I would not be surprised if Pat tried to get into the Rumble match. Well, I think Corey's going to get there. I'd like to see Corey Graves involved. That'd be perfect. Pat McAfee has wrestled and honestly done a good job. Get him in. I'd definitely get him in. Sometimes it's nice to just do surprises for surprises' sake. Pat McAfee makes more sense to me than, for example, X-Pac. Though X-Pac might get a bigger pop. I'm not sure on that, but maybe. We have ourselves a By the Numbers promo. I love these. They do one every year, and it's always basically the same, but it's still fun. Pat Patterson. I'm glad they recognised that the first winner was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Didn't mean anything then, it was just a match, but still. Had to slip Hogan back in, didn't they? To be clear, The Rock did not win that Royal Rumble. Both his feet hit the floor. The Big Show won that Royal Rumble in 2000. $1,190 entrants. Wow. They went through their list of legends and didn't actually mention Charlotte. Interesting. They show Shawn Michaels. Naturally, when they're doing the entry number 1, they don't show name redacted. I forgot Edge came in at number 1. Completely forgot. The slide has just appeared on my screen. Oh, good stuff. Show me Casey Catanzaro sit up on the post. That's more impressive than anything Kofi's done for me. Didn't show Casey Catanzaro. I'm pretty sure Brock Lesnar's 13 was record equaling. It was a good Rumble that year, 2020. Brock Lesnar genuinely added a lot to the match. As a man with OCD, any promo or video recap that just focuses on the numbers is fine by me. Brief viewing of the Thunderdome there. A rarity nowadays. I don't think we're going to see another back-to-back Rumble winner for a long time if we ever do again. I don't think this year is Belair's year. Also, Austin did not win free. He cheated. Not acceptable. They all forget that. They just said an infinite number of surprises. Yeah, they're not setting the bar too high or anything, no. I would laugh if we got to Saturday. Sorry about that. I'd laugh if we got to Saturday, the Royal Rumble, and then they just announced they were doing a 50-woman Rumble. Because why not? Naomi's on her way out. It looks like this might, in fact, be our draw segment. Marvel fan says if Corey is cleared, get him in there. I agree. Brandon says it's still surreal. Edge came back at the Rumble. It was a big moment and certainly a huge one that we all very much enjoyed. Justin is asking, did you like the 40-man Rumble? No. Easily my least favourite. KJ says 25 spots confirmed now. I didn't see that until just now. Yep, there's not going to be that many surprises in the men's, I'll tell you that. Brandon's enjoying the slide. Jermaine says, can you believe Fightful Select has a paywall up right now about Sasha Banks, but we already had the info. Thanks to Tom, that's why you're the best. Thank you, Jermaine. I appreciate that. That's the thing. You don't really need to worry about paywalls or anything. Most of the info you get is already out there for free. Particularly stuff like the Ronda Rousey news. I had that here days beforehand. But my name will never be the one that they announce because they've been told by others, more popular ones, not to believe a word I say. Yeah, I'm literally saying what they say, but first. BFG Podcast says AEW is going to reap the rewards of WWE's embarrassing mistake of releasing Jeff Hardy. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. Sonya Deville trying to cheat the official apparently not interested. I think they're probably very interested. We're getting at least a little recap of Sonya Deville Naomi. But not really. I'm interested in what Sonya Deville's ring gear is going to look like because it's usually pretty good. It looks like we're about to have another commercial break, which would mean... Yeah. So it would mean that this is going to be our draw segment. Naomi and Sonya Deville, our draw segments. Naomi, I do believe, will have a pretty good showing at the Rumble. Sonya Deville should be in it, but she might not be. Woody Swain says, what are the plans for Omos? I can't look past the idea that we're going to get Lashley versus Omos at Mania. I'm not sure what the plans are at the moment. It's mostly to beat jobbers, but we'll see how it goes. Jermaine says, if I think about it more, you're right. I can see Aaliyah eliminating Charlotte by accident. I wouldn't say accident. I'd imagine she's trying to eliminate her, but certainly it would be a bit of a Maven situation. KJ says, I'm sorry, but the ball-in theme song for the Rumble is the perfect song. I've got hiccups. God damn it. I couldn't say, unfortunately. I barely heard it. Marvel fan says, I'm loving face Brock. Me as well. I didn't expect to love this version of Brock as much as I do, but I do. It is what it is. There's no disputing it. We've got entertainment. It's just in the veins now. While I have you, if you're currently watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit that like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference to the growth of the channel. And if you would like to get news first, breaking news that you can't find anywhere else, please do remember to hit subscribe and follow the channel. We did have the Ronda Rousey news before anyone else, Sasha Banks before anyone else, and plenty more that you can find on this channel, including, I think, the biggest thing from last year, announcing that Becky Lynch would be returning the day before she returned. No one else had that one, but you could find it right here. Brandon says, infinite number of surprises. Yeah, infinite. Sean says, did you like the Rumble where Bray eliminated people like Brock did? Can't remember the year that was. 2013, 2014, something like that. I didn't mind it, but that wasn't that big a moment in it. Like, he was used well, but he wasn't used that well. Yes. Megan says, it was, but they're only talking about the traditional Rumble. They're not mentioning that Bryan has the longest time ever in a single Rumble. Yes, the greatest Royal Rumble, which I believe was 50 people. And this was, of course, after Roderick Strong caved his damn chest in. Jermaine says, I can truly see Sasha versus Ronda being the last two. They go at it for like 10 minutes before one eliminates the other and wins the Royal Rumble. That could very much be it. That could very much be the situation. I think Sasha will go out a little bit earlier, personally. Simon is saying, SmackDown is alive again. Sasha, New Day, Nakamura, Ridge, all back. Yeah, but they need a few more. SmackDown's still suffering. Bailey says, is Kane showing up tomorrow? I don't believe he will feature. I think we've gone past the time of Kane now. But he might show up for a backstage vignette and tease being involved. J. Pone, welcome to the show. Says, I rewatched 2020 Men's Rumble recently. Such a shame what happened with Keith Lee afterwards. His interaction with Brock was my second favourite moment after the Edge return. Brock sold hard for Keith Lee. Brock believed in Keith Lee. Roman believed in Keith Lee. Only person who didn't seems to have been Nick Khan. Sonya Deville's music isn't terrible. Very strong boos. Yep, as ring gear goes, that is damn good. Love how buff her shoulders are as well. I'm really excited to see Sonya wrestle again. Oh, by the way, who had the news about Sonya returning to wrestling? And then a month later, it turned up on the paywalls. I'll stop, guys. I'll stop. I get frustrated, but I don't want to sit here saying I'm great, I'm awesome, everyone do that. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. KJ says, infinite number of surprises. Could they pull people? Like in 2020, can they confirm like 26 guys and they pulled 4? Heavy Machinery, Bobby and Rusev. Yeah, they very much could, and I suspect they will have to if they want to get some surprises out. Good dodge. Sonya's just trying to evade an actual wrestle here. Trying to get the boos going. If she gets the boos going enough, Naomi might actually win. Domain says, hey Tom, how long do you think Mickie James, the current TNA Impact Knockouts Women's Champion, lasts in the Rumble, and who do you think eliminates her? I think she'll last about 10 minutes and probably be eliminated by Trish. Personally, that's what I'm seeing. Marvel fan, not a fan of the new Sonya gimmick. I quite like it. I don't like her being a coward, but I just like the fact that she's there, to be honest. Simon is saying, Tom, very truly humbly, when it comes to Sasha, the crew thanks you. To be fair, the crew have been very good to me in the past, mostly because my reporting on Sasha Banks has always been pretty damn good. Megan says, I called NXT being in Survivor Series about 6 months ahead of time, and I won't ever get any credit for it. And that sucks. It really is. It's not what you know, it's who you know, isn't it? My career basically came to an end because I didn't suck the right dick. I'm okay with it. Brandon says, who do you see being number 1 in men's and women's Rumble? Well, good question. Natalya historically has been an early number for the women's. I think Bianca Belair might be quite early, but possibly too early. So usually I would go Horsewoman, so maybe Charlotte. As regards to men's, probably someone quite low profile. Not someone likely to pick up a win. I'd go with someone the level of Finn Balor or Sheamus, personally. BFG says, do you watch AW yourself, Tom? I think their ratings are going to blow up in the next year depending on who they can acquire. I don't think their ratings are going to blow up basically ever again, but I think they should see an increase. At the moment, their ratings are going down every week. Basically, their retention rate has been terrible. This match is getting botchy. At the very least, a bit lazy. I don't watch a lot of AEW. I watch what I can, but ultimately I only have so much time, and I do have to prioritise WWE when I also have a full-time day job. Brock Marsh says, Meltzer said she won't return until mid-March. So that's proving Dave wrong again. Told you I would never believe anything he says. I also said that. Devin says, as of now, who do you think leaves Mania as champ? It depends champion of which. I think Roman will be leaving as champion. Which champion? Not sure. When it comes to the women's championships, I don't think either of our current champions will leave with the belts. KJ says, have a listen to it. I'm already excited for the Rumble. That song makes me more excited. I'll have to check it out. Marvel fan says, do we know what's going on with Bray? Nothing's going on with Bray. Wyndham Rotunda is doing things other than wrestling right now. May not return to wrestling at all. Sean says, so Vince believed in Keith? He did. Not to a huge degree, but he did. Jermaine says, I can see Bianca versus a returning Bayley at WrestleMania. I think we're more likely to see Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss, personally. I think if Bayley doesn't return for the Rumble, she probably won't return until WrestleMania and then be in a Battle Royal. And they'd be able to take their time with her a lot more. We'll get a proper wrestling match. A lot going on the outside, but they are definitely using their draw segment very well here. Sonya could be a draw. Naomi is a proven draw already, but only to a certain degree. KJ says they should book Sonya to be dominant. They seem to be en route to that when she's not being a coward. She's never been a coward before. I don't want to let them start now. Devin says, I feel like if Sonya is in the Rumble, it's going to be like a Liv and Lana thing. I don't understand. I don't understand. Brandon says, Ronda to eliminate Mickey. Ronda to eliminate everyone, basically. Dara says, hey, Tom. Hey, Dara. How you doing, mate? Simon says, any chance of Cena returning tomorrow? Very, very low chance. Very low chance. Sean says, I saw something about Triple H saying he might not be coming back due to health issues. That came from the Wrestling Observer. Triple H has never said anything of that sort. Brandon says, Finn Balor is also just an afterthought now again, and it's just sad. It is very disappointing seeing what has happened, particularly to Finn Balor. It's just one of those things. Nothing's gone well for Finn Balor since returning from NXT. BFG is saying there, as regards AEW, are starting to receive over 1 million every week, just about, which is a pretty serious drop from the numbers they were getting. KJ says in 2020 they confirmed only 22 guys, took out 4, but a lot of the unconfirmed guys are fed to Brock, like Shelton. There was a few surprises like MVP, Edge, Riddle, and Lee. Lee was a big surprise and a very fun one. I forgot about MVP's return there. Interesting. Dara says, I want to see either Finn or AJ win the Rumble. I would like to see AJ win. I don't think Finn has a chance in hell. Marvel fan says, are we going to see normal Bliss again soon? No. No. I don't know what you define by normal Bliss, but the character that she has been playing for the past few months, it's not going away. They are still going to use that character, but they're going to evolve it. Brock says, if Ronda wins the Rumble, I'm going to be boycotting WrestleMania. And you're probably going to be boycotting WrestleMania, mate. KJ says, if Bayley and Ronda did come back, how do they, along with Becky and Flair, then Banks, how do you squeeze Bianca, Alexa, the women's tag titles, maybe even Asuka and Ripley making the card? I see Ripley and Asuka in the Battle Royal. Asuka is definitely not going to get a prominent place at WrestleMania. Ripley probably not going to get a prominent place at WrestleMania. Outside of that, all the names he mentioned, they will probably get a good place. But there is a really easy way that they can give all of those women really prominent places in WrestleMania. They just make WrestleMania longer. That's what they're going to do. Ah, Devin, I understand. When Liv and Lana were feuding, they were just using the Rumble to eliminate each other. Yep, that also happened with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, to be fair, way back when. Kevin Owens, of course, was the one who eliminated AJ Styles during his debut. Good times. KJ, you might have your reasons why you think AJ ratings are going up for like one particular reason. Doesn't really change the fact that if AEW's ratings are going up, then the ratings are going up, and that's obviously quite a positive. I don't think anyone will be unhappy with that situation. Ratings for AEW can also potentially boost WWE. If you're not an AEW fan, I personally would still be hoping for them to have good ratings, because it means WWE take more risks and just are more inventive. Sonya's starting to turn the knife. Still, for some reason, very angry about the ref. I'd imagine she's going to annoy the ref enough that Naomi's going to take advantage and end up with a roll-up or something. We have rest hold. Well, guys, I'm going to be honest here. I can't remember any great match that Naomi has had. I can remember a few botchy ones, but I can't remember any great matches. If you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit that like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference. And subscribe if you haven't already. Over the last month, we have gained an extra 58 subscribers, which means we are on track right now to reach the 1,000 by WrestleMania. Obviously, a lot will depend on what we're able to do for the Royal Rumble, but we are hoping to get to that 1,000. I stand and hope. Every like, every subscription can make a big difference. Of course, if you're watching on Twitch instead, we also have options there. Because if you're watching on Twitch, you can click follow. You'll get a notification every time we go live. And you can get more and more of this content as we go. The crossbody was very high. Naomi basically landed right on Sonya Deville's face. Oh. Well, I said it was starting off a little bit botchy. It's got worse. It's got worse. Simon is suggesting a TLC triple threat match at Mania. Possibly for the Smackdown Tag Team titles. New Day versus the Usos versus the Viking Raiders. Like WrestleMania 17 back in the day. I wouldn't be against it. Viking Raiders could fit in a TLC. After all, we haven't had TLC this year. KJ says Sonya ate that kick, and she did. She really did. Good move. Thought it was Sonya's new finisher. Apparently not. Show me that again. It's an end of days. It's an end of days. It's a suplex end of days. I think we can all agree on that one. It's nice. BFG says, I'm hoping that they can receive similar ratings to WWE one day regarding AEW. A lot of fans believe that, and to be fair, one day it may happen. At the moment, though, there is a lot of work still to be done. And relying on surprises ain't going to get them there. They need to work on that retention rate. Justin says, who's a few legends who haven't been in 2K games that you'd want to see in 2K22? If we're thinking back... Thinking back to legends like of my time, I'd like to see Sable. I'd definitely like to see China. Hello, Jay Quick. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for the host as well. Welcome to the show, man. KJ says, you're not lying, Naomi. I want Sonya to win. I also want Sonya to win. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Naomi has to win. Otherwise, what is the point of this entire feud? Rob says, Montez and Liv feel like Rumble starters for the crowd engagement. Montez Ford's a good call. Very good call. Well, that looks like a finish. And it is. Naomi needed to win. We needed to wrap this up and just move on. Sonya's already up and she is furious. I would imagine she's going to aim the fury at the referee. She's rolling away. Sonya can get her revenge in the Royal Rumble. Dara says we need a ladder match for the IC belt at Mania. Always a surefire way to guarantee a lot of fun from the crowd. Absolutely do it. Sean says, would Mandy Rose be released if she refuses to come back to the main roster after a women's title reign? I don't know. Too many variables there, Sean. Too many variables. KJ's saying, I'd imagine, KJ, you're talking about Mandy Rosemore here. I think she's going to want to come back. She's better now. She might just be happy there, to be honest. She might just be happy. Brandon says, clean win for Naomi. Let's go. And through some cheating, to be fair. Through some cheating. Jay Quick says, what percentage would you give Ronda of showing up tomorrow? 90? Very high. Jermaine says, I've seen Naomi entering the Royal Rumble at number 1. To be fair, Sonya could get away with that one. $153 days of that. Well, at least Naomi had a storyline. She was on TV. The whole pairing of Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler just abandoned entirely. Naomi saying she's going to win the Rumble. That's going to give Sonya Deville ideas. Sonya Deville has many championships in her future. Many championships. This is a small setback for her. KJ's laughing because the ref literally ran away. BFG said, what will be your ultimate Royal Rumble surprise that you don't find out as a journalist before it happens? It'll make you fall off your chair and mark out. Sonya Deville's not gone anywhere. She's put a coat back on. I don't know, BFG. It's a good question, that. Who would make me mark out that much? Probably Moxley. Go on, Sonya. We know what you're going to do. We're happy with it. Oh. Sonya announcing? Go on. Good. Good. Don't just come back for one match. Come back for all damn time, Sonya. We want you back. I'm very happy that she's back. Simon says, Punk versus MJF in Chicago next week. Who wins? I think CM Punk takes this one. I think MJF will get his win back eventually, but not just yet. KJ says, Sonya has some star power in my opinion, but another spot gone. They're going to have to pull people. They may have to pull people. We'll see. We'll see. Mr. Kennedy would not make me mark out. Megan says Sonya's going to get eliminated, then eliminate Naomi, just like Mandy did a couple of years ago. I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with it. We may end up with yet another WrestleMania match between the two. By not yet another WrestleMania match, I mean yet another match at WrestleMania rather than yet another WrestleMania match. We have ourselves some Viking Raiders lining up against the Usos. This may end up being our pre-show match. I'm going to have to sneeze. Pardon me. The Viking Raiders are just very strange. Why are they holding axes? And why have the Usos not already spotted those? The Usos have suddenly gone very still. Walking away. Sami Zayn on his way down to the ring. Megan says, I can see a few people getting jumped before the matches tomorrow. Certainly a possibility. Ronda Rousey going on a warpath. Darrow says, who do you think will have the most eliminations in the Rumbles? Definitely Charlotte for the women. That just seems to make sense to me. For the men's, I think it might be a bit of a surprise. Maybe Veer. Maybe Veer. Thank you, Dara. The BFG says, to follow up on that, do you think WWE is still capable of doing an ultimate surprise that the journalists don't know about beforehand? Sadly not. Sadly not. Rousey would have been a fun surprise, wouldn't she? This is one of the reasons why I like having quite a niche audience, in that you guys know what news I'm sharing, but it doesn't become like everyone knows, so everyone starts betting. You guys knew that we were talking about Ronda Rousey. Over the last few days, I would have had more news on this and been able to say to you, Ronda Rousey's coming back. At which point, then it'd be a good chance to sneak a quick bet on. But ultimately, I don't think there's going to be any real surprises going forwards. I think AEW still has a goodwill at the moment, but that will not last, and people will start spoiling there soon as well. Now, as we're just over the halfway mark, I'm going to get myself a drink. I'm going to pop myself to the bathroom, and I'm going to be back in just a moment. Please don't go anywhere. I will return in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. We have a Sami Zayn in the ring with his insane section. Jinder Mahal and Shanky are there for some reason. I don't think we've really talked about how similar Shanky is to Shanti. Yeah, we should probably bring that up. Okay, now they're recording a podcast. I feel like they're taking the piss out of me right there. And everybody else. Jermaine says, because of the stories in the past, I think after WrestleMania, Alexa Bliss is going to be moved over to SmackDown. WWE can't have Alexa on the same brand with Ronda because how she got hurt the last time. That's not going to be an issue in any way. They just won't have them feud. Brandon says, Zayn and Mahal segment. This is going to be fun. Sonic Welcome says hello. Welcome to the show, mate. Justin says it's hilarious that WWE don't count the greatest Rumble anymore since Bryan and Strowman aren't there, but they still show Titus sliding under the ring. To be fair, here's the thing we need to be aware of. Braun Strowman is still technically the WWE Saudi Arabian champion. He still has his championship belt. He doesn't have his trophy because Drew McIntyre accidentally demolished that, but he still has it. Rob says, saving Veer for Monday. Can't give him everything tomorrow. That's fair. That's fair. Don't want to ruin everything. KJ says, Tom, exactly who is the source? Like, who spoils things? Say for Jan to his backstage, you knew Meltzer couldn't be just like, oh my god, John Cena is here. Report that. Like, can't anyone backstage or in any of the meetings spoil things? Because realistically, how do we find out? Essentially, more often than not, if a source approaches you, they will tell you something that happens and you will not report it. And it'll be proven true. They'll tell you something else. You will not report it. It'll be proven true. And over time, you'll build a rapport. Ideally, you won't just take things from one source. You'll take at least two sources. But the vast majority of sources are wrestlers. The vast majority are wrestlers. So, for example, a wrestler who is unhappy with their booking, instead of lashing out or doing something about it, they instead send an email or a Twitter DM on their phone more often than not nowadays to someone at one of these wrestling sites. That person will then immediately report it, and here we are. Vast majority is wrestlers who are just unhappy with their lot but don't plan to leave. BFG says, would you jump up and down if someone else from AEW turns up apart from Jon Moxley? If there's one person from AEW that I think is likely to turn up, it's not Moxley, it's Chris Jericho. Okay, just says, tonight's the first time in a while they haven't piped anything. I think, to be honest, it's the first SmackDown in a while that's actually been enjoyable. The last few SmackDown shows have been bad. Like, genuinely bad. But it's been alright. I enjoyed this. Boogs is making the entrance, bringing in Shinsuke Nakamura. I'd imagine this is leading to Boogs and Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal and Shanky. It's one way to welcome them back. Marvel fan says, Sonya adds herself to the Rumble. Well, she's getting thrown out early. I don't know. She can fit the bill of ring general. Probably better than most. KJ says, oh, that makes sense. Ali spoiled all the surprises confirmed. So, I'm not going to give too much away here, but many of you would be very surprised to find out the source of the news that broke just before the 2020 Royal Rumble that Drew McIntyre would be winning. Many of you would be very surprised at the particular source for that. Thank you, KJ. Appreciate that. Simon is asking about GCW. Honestly, I did not catch any of it. This is time constraints, unfortunately. But I'm sure people in the chat did, so by all means, chat away. Brandon says Nakamura's theme will never get boring, especially with Rick. The combination of Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura came out of nowhere. And I didn't see any need for it. It confused me. And it's been fantastic. It's been absolutely fantastic, and I can't get enough of it. Nakamura's going to slap Sami in the face, isn't he? It's Nakamura. Of course he didn't slap him. He kicked him. Of course he kicks him. It's Nakamura. We are into our final third. We still have Madcap Moss to see as well, which is going to be a thing. Sean is saying Nakamura versus Sami at the March Premium Live event or WrestleMania. More likely WrestleMania. I don't believe there is a March Premium Live event planned. Marvel fan says WWE should just give Ali his release. They have nothing for him. I agree. I completely agree. If you're not going to use him, let him go. But here's the thing. They're not going to use him, but they know how good he is. So they don't want to let him go. At this point, they're starting to worry and look over their shoulder at AEW. They're just starting to look over their shoulder a little bit and get worried. They're just getting worried. I've got to be honest. My interest in 2K22 is based entirely on GM mode. Entirely. Especially knowing that there's a co-op feature. That's literally the only thing that's interesting me about the game. But it's probably going to be enough. It'll probably be enough. If you're currently watching on YouTube, please do consider hitting that like button. That little thumbs up can make a big difference, and we are doing very well for thumbs up at this point in time. Also, if you haven't already done so, why not subscribe? Why not do that? Why not help me out? I would very much appreciate it. Thank you very, very kindly. If you're watching on Twitch, you can always click follow and you'll get a notification every time we go live that you may want to check out. The BFG podcast says, what happened to former Ring of Honor star Dalton Castle? He moved on. I just don't think he was getting a pretty good deal at Ring of Honor. He didn't seem very happy there. So he moved on to something else. I've met Dalton Castle. He left a fingerprint on my glasses that meant I couldn't see for like an hour. It would not go away. It was really awkward. Rob's welcome says, Nakamura Sami at Mania for IC title would be a great callback to NXT. I would love it. And I definitely think Nakamura would be picking up the win. Sean says, someone just tweeted EO beat Dakota in a good and quick match. So a photo of the graphics looked like EO babyface character. Doesn't surprise me. Dakota Kai is too good a heel to not let Io Shirai take the face moment, as it were. Marvel fan says, yeah, that is why he tried to get Jeff back, because they're worried he will join AEW. That is the rumour, yes. If it's actually true that they felt he needed rehab. Hello, Lauren. That they felt he needed rehab and they fired him because of that, why would they then bring him back? I have many questions. Many questions. Hello, Lauren. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for renewing your subscription. Your third month subscribed. Great to have you, and I hope you're doing fantastic. I really do. Brandon says, Roman got a 96 rating for 2K22. I thought it was 95. Must have been mistaken. I don't see anyone getting higher this year, nor do I. There is no reason for anyone to go higher. And that's the thing. If we're doing a co-op GM mode, whoever picks first is picking Roman. There's no question. Absolutely no question. It's going to be Roman. It just kind of has to be. Megan says next week is going to be very interesting as quite a few non-competes are up. I have seen Adam Cole sort of promoting Wednesday. Going to be a lot of people popping up. Sonic says, well, we're getting more hype for the Women's Rumble match and both Sasha Banks and Sonya Deville returns are spoiled. I mean, it depends who you're watching, but yeah, kind of. BFG says, do you know where he's going to be going after everybody got released from the company? Oh, Dalton Castle. I believe he'd already gone, to be honest. I believe so. We'll see what happens. But I've had no news about Dalton Castle, unfortunately. It's one of those. He's not a name big enough to really attract WWE or AEW. But he didn't seem particularly happy at Ring of Honor. Maybe Japan. I think he'd do very well in Japan. He could be one of the Tokyo Pimps. I mean, there's a lot of them. KJ says, can Io follow in Asuka's footsteps? Hopefully not. I'd like to see her basically be independent of that. I'd prefer to see her go in Sasha's footsteps. I think it's very similar to what's been said quite a bit about from The Miz about MJF. She's not trying to be someone else. She's trying to be the first her. And I think comparisons to Asuka are going to happen. And I'd rather they didn't, because Asuka, I feel, will not be a big deal ever again. Do we still know why Jeff walked out of that match? We don't. We don't know why Jeff walked out of that match. No idea. Absolutely no idea. There's many possibilities. Potential injury, potential illness. Yes, there is a possibility that he was under the influence, but we've had no evidence in any direction. I found it interesting that the reports made by both Meltzer and Fightful, so Wrestling Observer and Fightful, both state exactly the same, particularly that Jeff Hardy asked for the results of his test. With this in mind, they clearly both have the exact same source. So when I see Fightful confirms, I disagree. I don't think they confirm it because it's the exact same news. Tells me they've got the exact same source. That for me is still one source. KJ says, we can't blame WWE, but then again, they jumped the gun. The fact that they said to him, go to rehab or get out, when apparently there was a drugs test and they haven't seen the results of it. Wait. Do the drugs test. When that comes back, if it comes back positive, then say go to rehab or get fired. If it comes back negative, you don't have to fire anyone. But they did. Just confusing. So they're booking Shanky as a giant, but a giant jobber. Just... It's very Commander Aziz. The big guy is there to knock down. He's not exactly being booked by Omos, is he? Very impressive there from Boogs, particularly given that Shanky didn't jump as high as he'd wanted. They're really going for this Freddie Mercury comparison. Nakamura and Boogs pick up the win. We do not have long left for the show, so the next tag match will likely be at least our wrestling main event. Likely won't be very long. Brandon says, are you watching Book of Boba Fett? Not as of yet. I wasn't that interested in Mandalorian. I watched the first 4 or 5 episodes. Just wasn't that interested in it, to be honest. So Boba Fett, not jumping out at me so far. I'll get around to it at some point, I'm sure, but we'll see. Jermaine says, I don't think WWE will have a women's Elimination Chamber match because the Elimination Chamber matches are in Saudi Arabia, and I don't think they're allowed to have that type of women's match there. Well, to be fair, previously they weren't allowed to have women's matches there at all. It's odd for me to say an Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia is progress, but kind of progress. Sonic says, we'll see when Asuka comes back tomorrow and we'll see how much of a big deal Asuka is. Sadly, not that big. Not that big. BFG says, I absolutely adored his Radio Gaga gimmick in Ring of Honor, referring to Castle again. I understand why that's coming up. Especially when they just accuse Boogs of peacocking around. Where's the boys? Big E is slotted straight back into the New Day dynamic. You'd be forgiven for forgetting that he's a former WWE champion. I'd like to repeat that, but replace the word Big E with the word Kofi. KJ says, why not suspend Jeff or just take him off TV? I think that's fair. I think they have a reasonable doubt, they have a reasonable suspicion. Suspend him, ask him to take a test. Find out the results, job done. They didn't need to do it. Jermaine says, I have a feeling that Big E's being moved back to SmackDown. Yeah, I am getting the feeling that the Big E singles push is just over. Just over. KJ says, Boogs is impressive. He was swinging Shanky around like crazy. He was. And sometimes all you need is someone who can swing. That's all we really want to see. We just want to see someone who can swing. I think we can all agree on that. You'd be forgiven for forgetting that Big E is a former WWE champion. You'd also be forgiven for forgetting that Kofi is a former WWE champion. It was a good line. I want to try and take advantage of it. Brandon says, wonder what crazy stunt Kofi will pull tomorrow. To be fair, we have to ask that for a few people now. Naomi obviously will be in the Rumble. We've had her announced. So what's she going to do? And ultimately, you get diminishing returns. You can only be so inventive, you know? KJ thinks Asuka is done for. I don't think she's done for per se, but I think she's been overtaken by the Liv Morgans. Simon says, Jermaine, I think Tom said the SmackDown women are having... which means Sasha gets Charlotte at Mania then. And I did not say that, Simon. I did not say that, Simon. I'm confident there is going to be an Elimination Chamber, but it will be for whichever brand did not win the Rumble. So if, for example, Bianca Belair on Raw wins the Royal Rumble, then the SmackDown women would get the Elimination Chamber. If Sasha Banks won the Rumble, then the Raw women would get the Elimination Chamber. At which point you get Ronda Rousey in an Elimination Chamber. I know, right? Jay Poe says, would you rather see Brock win the Rumble or the Chamber? I don't think he's done a Chamber match. I don't think he has either. And honestly, I would prefer him to win the Chamber. I would like it. I'd really enjoy it. You just know he would absolutely be demolishing everyone and everything. Give me Brock, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin. They don't really have anyone else. Sheamus, Cesaro, Big E. You have to borrow Big E, but let's put Big E in there as well. That would be a great Chamber match. It's pure power. Jermaine thinks that we will see Shayna Baszler be moved back to Raw to be put with Ronda Rousey. I'm not aware that there are any plans for any brand swaps, but to be fair, the draft will come a few months after WrestleMania. BFG says, I wonder if they're going to bring in Castle to WWE. They're not. Have him and Rick team together and they're going to be like a Queen parody. That would be funny, but there are no intentions of doing that. Brandon says, is 2022 the year we see AJ as world champion again? I really hope so. I really hope so. I don't necessarily see it. KJ says, Tommaso Ciampa, Roderick Strong and LA Knight are still at SmackDown. Also, I can't remember who said it. I think it was Meltzer saying how WWE is high on LA Knight. This is very telling about Royal Rumble as well, because yes, all those names are reported to be at SmackDown. They have thus far had no involvement whatsoever in the show, with no intention of that changing anytime soon. We're just not likely to see them involved at all, or doing anything, basically. KG also says, was positioned to get called up after Mania, this as regards LA Knight, but he ran into Ziggler and Rude on Raw, so it could happen sooner. It could, but that was also true a while ago, Velveteen Dream. We had the same rumours about him. Very glad he's not succeeded. Megan says, as far as I can see, Brock has never done a chamber match. I'm hyped for it even more now. Sean says, what if an NXT star won the Rumble? Then what would they do for the chamber? I guess they'd have to do both and just have 3 chambers. If it was, for example, Braun Breaker picking up the win, he would have to choose his opponent and then they'd have the other one. Simon asks the question, isn't Heyman apparently a massive source for the sheets from his ECW days in the 90s? Yes. Heyman is historically a source for Dave Meltzer, but he was a source about WWE while he was working with ECW. It's one of the reasons he was able to level the playing field so much. Jermaine says, I know on GM mode they've showed Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville, Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon, but I wondered, do they have Eric Bischoff as a GM too, because he was one for WWE at one point. No intentions at the moment to have Eric Bischoff featured in 2K22, otherwise they would also have shown Paige, Hornswoggle, Eva Marie, a briefcase. They can't do everyone. Bailey says, as NXT's ratings continue to go down, what will WWE do? The intention from the WWE is not to worry too much about it and focus entirely on bringing more people through. They are hoping that Bron Breakker is enough of a draw to bring people back. So far it's okay. Rob says quite rightly, Reginald seems like the type they do a Kofi stunt with nowadays. I agree. Reginald would be a very good shout for it. This will be our final wrestling match of the night, right? Riddick Moss gets some speed up. Our final wrestling match of the night. I can't imagine it'll be longer than 5 minutes. Genuinely can't. And then we'll get a 5-minute match. New Day probably pick up the win. Commercial break. Roman. KJ suggests an NXT 3.0. I mean, I don't hate it. KJ says maybe bring main roster guys down and maybe actually kill the PG for NXT. They won't kill the PG. Absolutely not. But AJ Styles was brought down for a reason. We're likely to see a bit more of him. I can tell BFG. I can. Megan says, give me Brock, Lashley, Owens, Priest, Rollins and Balor in one chamber. Then Big E, Cesaro, Drew, Sheamus, Sammy and Corbin in the other. I like a bit of a crazy setup there. It's a shame we never got another chamber match with John Morrison. He was amazing in them. Jay Poe says, what is with the random Bischoff appearances on both shows recently? He is promoting a podcast. He reached out to try and get some time to help promote the podcast, so that's the plan. They get a bit of a pop. It creates the environment of, oh, anything can happen, you better tune in. Even though it's not a big surprise, so we are where we are. Moxie's hyped. Brandon says they should have not changed NXT in the first place. Okay. They needed to change NXT. They absolutely did. For two main reasons. The biggest one for me is that NXT, simply put, was not fit for purpose. It absolutely was not fit for purpose at all. At all. The main reason being that it was not a developmental territory anymore. People weren't developing that. The main reason being that you had people who were just stuck at the top. Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. They were just at the top and they were not moving. Because people weren't getting that development, they were moving to the main roster and absolutely failing. A large part of the NXT failings on main roster is that people in NXT were not being prepared for life on the main roster. They weren't being trained for a main roster crowd. They were being trained to stay with NXT. That works perfectly for AEW. Not for WWE main roster. Different beast entirely. You're talking about Leo Rush there, KJ. Moxley would like Roman, Brock, Bobby, Drew, Sheamus and Damian in one chamber. A lot of people are going to have to lose championships for that. Domain says, thanks Simon. Very massive, huge Mr. Sasha Banks fan Walker. I just wasn't sure on the women's elimination chamber match happening because of Saudi Arabia. Sean says, Taya Valkyrie said she would be interested in AEW. If she goes there, would John Morrison go there also? Not definitely, possibly, but I find it unlikely. I don't believe AEW is that interested in either Taya Valkyrie or John Morrison at this point in time. Ultimately, AEW need to stop hiring people now. They have needed to for a while. KJ says they needed to change NXT so they could actually call people up and not ruin them and they could prepare their future. Essentially, yeah, a nice condensed, much more condensed and explainable form of what I was trying to say. BFG, your sexuality is your business. I mean, Castle is an attractive man. Moxie says, do you think Ronda might have signed? Yes, I think she might have signed. KJ says, might as well put Riddle in any of those chamber matches with Brock. One of the biggest problems with Matt Riddle is that Brock Lesnar has simply refused to work with him at this point. It's like a Chris Jericho Goldberg situation, or like a Riddle Goldberg situation. Riddle is pissing people off backstage. Randy Orton is helping him to recover from that, but he's still pissing people off backstage. I do believe that NXT definitely needed to change. 2.0 will be better for the WWE main roster, but it was the demolition of the show that came before. Bron Breakker won't be there for long. Very confident of that. Big E gets the hot tag. Corbin gets tossed. Corbin gets tossed. More tossing. Corbin gets tossed. KJ says, remember Riddle buried Roman on that podcast? Yeah. Oh, no idea, BFG. I think he was just vain and pretty. I don't think sexuality came into it. John says, Kyle O'Reilly commented about NXT on Talk is Jericho. I don't remember what he said. Well, Jericho basically makes sure that everybody talks about NXT, doesn't he? Brandon says, what's Riddle doing to piss people off so much? Basically, right. It comes down to respect. Riddle does not respect Brock Lesnar, does not respect Roman Reigns, does not respect Goldberg. He does not respect the people that paved the way. If you don't respect the tribal chief, what the fuck is the point of being in wrestling? A lot of people really care about respect. I'm going to suggest some names. The Miz, Cody Rhodes, Vince McMahon. People who really care about respect. Riddle don't do that. J Poe says, do you think RK Bro will still be a team at Mania? At the moment, yes, but I think Mania might be the breakup. Brandon says, who's tossing Corbin? Big E's tossing Corbin. Tossing Corbin in every which way. This match has gone longer than I expected. The actual one-on-one showdown is going to be very short. Megan says, I will say, I wouldn't be mad if LA Knight showed up in the Rumble. Kind of like Priest did last year that he's going to be on the main roster soon spot. There's going to be a few people doing that. A few soft call-ups, as it were, just to see how the crowd reacts to them, with a view to making it permanent pretty much immediately afterwards if the crowd respond favourably. I definitely think LA Knight will be one of them. Bron Breakker may be mentioned as well. I think the match has gone over because Baron Corbin and Riddick Moss are fleeing quickly. Sonic says, I don't have one question. Why didn't Becky Lynch mention that she gave Asuka the Raw Women's title in none of her promos or interviews and Becky came back from her pregnancy? Because Asuka's not there. You can't give someone the rub if they're not there to be rubbed. Megan says, also, if you look a little deeper, Riddle doesn't have a lot of respect for women either. That is true. That is absolutely true and a very fair comment. Also, I feel that's very generous to Riddle saying he doesn't have a lot of respect for women. It is one of the reasons that Seth Rollins is not a fan of Matt Riddle. I know they've apparently patched it up. They haven't. Jermaine says, Asuka would have been a big deal, but this is the second time in a second Royal Rumble match where Asuka is being overshadowed by Ronda Rousey, which kills any type of momentum that she could have. This is one of the reasons I think even if Bayley is cleared, keep her away. No, BFG, I've not heard anything about further crossovers between Impact and WWE. As far as I understand, this is a one and done because the WWE wanted a few surprises and needed to fill some spots. Also, they wanted to basically erase what they had done to Mickie James. Mickie James being in the Royal Rumble basically says, oh, so she was annoyed, but she wasn't that annoyed, even though she was. Sean says, I know Seth said he doesn't want to work with Riddle, but he's faced him in matches. Is it possible WWE had them be professional? Yes, it very much is. It may be that it's not the biggest problem anymore, but yeah, Becky not happy with Riddle either. That's a good way of saying it, KJ. Their beef is over doesn't necessarily mean they're friends. Quite often, people who genuinely hate each other can have fantastic matches. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Hardcore Holly and Brock Lesnar for some reason. Simon, I don't think Asuka's that over, to be honest. I really don't think she is. She's popular, certainly, but she's not that over. Rob says, love me some Riddle, and I think if it were 94, Vince would be very much behind his HBK confidence and brashness, but that would come with some Undertaker one-on-one conversations in those days when needed. And the problem is, no one's having those conversations with him. If anything, Randy Orton is making the situation worse. Much, much worse. In that typical Randy Orton way. J-Po says, Randy seems like the perfect mentor for Riddle. I do think Riddle will calm down under the tutelage of Randy. But if Randy hadn't chosen to work with Matt Riddle, I don't think Matt Riddle would still be getting featured this heavily. If at all. Yes, BFG, I am aware that I'm quite far behind. Unfortunately, my BT just isn't fantastic. Something just wrong with the stream. But I'm doing the best I can. When it comes to the Royal Rumble, we will be live and I'll probably be ahead of you guys. Sean says, I know Riddle's wife said something about Becky. My guess is that is what sparked the dislike. We don't know the details. So just, with this in mind, I can't speak any further. Brandon says, I'm pretty sure Taker wasn't that high in HBK, right? Well, yes and no. Undertaker really hated Shawn Michaels' attitude, but he thought he was incredibly talented, and really enjoyed working with him. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, after all, were in the inaugural Hell in a Cell. And Shawn Michaels, let's just say, sold quite hard for the dead man. The Undertaker quite often would have to basically bring Shawn in line. But Shawn still got away with a lot, including some backstage promos with his wandering hands. Megan says, I have to admit, I still wonder how Roman is able to keep a straight face given that he's now getting the desired reaction after working so hard for so long, if that makes sense. I think he's very, very proud of what he's being able to achieve. I think everyone in WWE is. We were told for years, he is the man. Now he's the man. Maybe it took Becky Lynch getting pregnant and getting out of the way for it to happen, but he is the man. If we get to a main event this year of Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, as everyone expects, it wouldn't end like 34 did. What's that, KJ? Tom strikes again. I'm tearing up. It's getting out of hand now. Oh, Brandon says Kane on Talking Smack. So Kane's making an appearance but not in the Rumble. BFG, the reason that I'm behind on one show and in front on another is because for Raw and SmackDown I watch on BT, but for the Royal Rumble I watch on the WWE Network. They are different services, and that is why I'm behind on one and ahead on another. Rob says, I also believe that Orton interview today was loosely alluded to Riddle among others. Didn't he openly say, I'm with Riddle because he grows my favourite strain? Megan says, also, Roman's theme change is one that actually worked. It did. It works much better with the character, and I think a lot of people were unhappy with his previous theme. He needed the change. Dara says, why is Kane doing that? Largely because he can sit there as an expert in the Royal Rumble. Well earned, well deserved. KJ says, someone asks, will Kane show up in the Rumble? Tom says, he'll show up maybe backstage or in a vignette. I'm starting to think I might know my stuff. We won't get title versus title, Sean. That won't happen. Moxie says, who do you want to win, Roman or Seth? I want Roman to win. I think Seth's going to win, but I want Roman to win. I'm glad I'm not the only one who sees the Joker inspiration. Honestly, this one's good. If he would wear socks. Or properly fitting trousers. Just wear properly fitting trousers. That should not be difficult. Megan's a fan of the suit. I'm also a fan of the suit. To be fair, Megan, I know your favourite colour is purple. You look damn good in that. Kuro, welcome to the show, says, there's one problem with having a pay-per-view on a Saturday. The go-home show suffers slightly. It does. That's true. It feels jarring for everyone to say tomorrow. But that's one downside and a many, many positives. Dara says, we need 2 World Championship matches at WrestleMania, not 1, and we will get them. We'll definitely get them. KJ says, Seth and Roman, the 2 top heels, are both the most over. What a crazy world we live in. There's a lot said about the WWE not being able to build faces. I don't think the fans want faces anymore. I think the fans are overwhelmingly in favour of just heel, heel, heel. And to be fair, it is working. Rob says, HBK came along in different times. That is true. Was a bit of a force of nature talent-wise. Would be a whole different world for that HBK to come along now. That is true. It's worth pointing out that if you were a great wrestler at that time, you had a fantastic career. Nowadays, if you're a great wrestler, you might end up in developmental for a long time because they haven't come up with something to make you stand out. Being a great wrestler is not enough anymore. Sean says, if Seth is Joker, does that make Roman Batman? I can imagine Roman as Batman, to be fair. I can see it. Brandon says, I think Seth winning would be the cooler option. I don't know. Megan says, it's purple and sparkly, so I need it. Is that true of everything, Megan? Roman smile with the acknowledge me as something. Yeah, I'm going to be blunt. Roman has this wonderful habit, very similar to a Swedish singer I'm a big fan of eye fucking the shit out of the camera. I said what I said. BFG says, tickets are flying out the door for tomorrow from what I have seen. Doesn't surprise me at all. It's time. KJ says, Seth Williams is cool, but that'll be a bad decision. Seth doesn't need it. It should be Drew or someone new. I would still rather it be Nakamura, but Seth seems more likely. Fair from Seth. I like that these promos are just honest at each other. They're just aggressively honest at each other. Brandon says Tribal Chief equals God mode. You ain't wrong. Lauren says Tribal Chief equals S. Plus, 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 plus. I like it. Rob says Rollins actually had a bit of that brashness himself when he arrived in NXT. Triple H had to spend some time tampering it down, but he's definitely grown into a company man, team player. He really has. You can see a lot of HBK in Seth. You always could. Sean is saying Bad Bunny could be at the Rumble tomorrow. That was from Ringside News. I don't entirely trust it. Ooh. KJ, I'm keeping an ear out. Yes, he did mention Roman's suspension. That was a fun one. It's just all about history. These two have a lot of it, and a lot of chemistry, as we know. We're definitely going to see the spear into pedigree. I'm confident of that. Oh, that's got him. Seth delights in just annoying everyone. It's working. It's okay, KJ. That one was for the wrestling journalists. Seth is taking credit for Roman now. Oh, I can't take the smile off my face. I'm just enjoying Roman's acting. You're enjoying that, Robs. I get it. Sean says, did you see HBK and Adam Cole? I know a lot compared him to Shawn Michaels. Somewhat, yeah. I didn't see it as strong in Adam Cole. I didn't see the high flying in Adam Cole that Seth has. Jay Post, Seth and Roman have faced each other in a number of pay-per-view matches, but one-on-one, I think it's just the one. That was creepy as hell. That was a Joker laugh, wasn't it? Ooh. Come on, Roman, fire back. I know you've got something. A fair Kuro, there could be a plan B. There is a Roman chant in the crowd. They're trying to play Seth as a face. The fans want Roman. Go on, Roman. Brandon says Mox in this segment would be gold. It would be. After all, we have had that in times past. Us. Yes, Rob's the rock, paper, scissors of Rollins, Reigns and Mox. I pointed it out before, I'll be pointing it out again in future. Seth always beats Roman. Brandon, those Shield reunions never happened. You gotta forget them. Seth's gonna get battered. Not often you see a push. Seth's gone too far. Moxie, I've gone with Roman retaining, yes. Oh, oh, oh. Seth saw him coming. The fact that this is likely just going to be a one and done match, that's surprising to me. There is so much more to do here. And that is WWE Smackdown. Now, before we continue, please set your alarms. Write it down, note it down, do whatever needs doing. Set your reminders. Tomorrow, me and you, we're going to watch the Royal Rumble together. On YouTube and on Twitch. Come check it out. Because I'm hoping to continue the climb to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you've enjoyed this, please do remember, hit that thumbs up and hit subscribe as well on YouTube. And of course, hit follow on Twitch if you can. In the meantime, thank you everyone for joining us. I've been Tom Colohue. I'm going to go get some sleep and get ready for tomorrow. Thank you everyone. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you next time.